Hi, everyone, and welcome to our story time with Mrs. Arnold. Today, we are going to read our very last fairy tale book, and this book is actually based on a nursery rhyme that many of you probably know called Humpty Dumpty. This book is based on what happens to Humpty Dumpty after his fall. So, this book is called After the Fall: How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again. It was written by Dan Santat, and it was a Caldecott Medal winner, which means it won an award due to its amazingness. Are you ready? It's our very last fairy tale book. Next week, we're going to do something a little different. So here we go. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know, it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day, I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. So if you never heard the nursery rhyme, it's about an egg called Humpty Dumpty who sat up on the wall. Then he ended up taking a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. But this book is about what happens when he does fall. So it's a different side of that nursery rhyme, just like all our fairy tales have had two sides. So let's begin. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. Just take a look at those cereals. All the yummy cereals are up top. All the healthy cereals are down below. And now he's afraid of heights, so he can't get his favorite cereals. He's stuck eating the ones that he doesn't like as much. Which we should eat healthy cereals, right? It's good for us. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. So how does he feel now about heights and getting back up on the wall? He's afraid. Let's see if he overcomes that fear. Oh no, there's a rip in my book. That's sad. I'll have to fix it. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches. But day after day, I kept trying and trying. Until I got it just right. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. You know, Humpty reminds me of someone. Someone that we used to watch when we came back in from recess every day. He's a green monster. Does he remind you of Mojo at all? He didn't give up when he was building his airplane, just like Mojo never gave up when he was building his rocket. He persevered. Remember that really fancy word that hangs on the wall of our classroom? Persevere. You should always push through your fears. That's what he's doing right now, isn't he? I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time. He's pushing himself to keep going. He's pushing himself to fight his fear. Persevering is pushing yourself through something that's hard. Until I was no longer afraid. He made it to the top, didn't he? Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully, you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. Uh-oh. And learned how to fly. The end. So let's talk about our book first. Normally we don't talk about it at the end, but this book has a very powerful message or a powerful theme or lesson that we can take away from. We always talk about these three guys. We always talk about our characters, our settings, our problems, and our solutions. We don't talk about this one very often because not all books have themes or lessons for us to learn. This one has a theme or a lesson for us to learn from. So, your writing assignment's going to have to do with that theme. This book was written for a very specific reason, which is why it won an award, because it has such a powerful message in it. It's teaching you to persevere and to fight through your fears. Something terrible happened to Humpty Dumpty. He fell off a wall, but he realized it was an accident. But even though he went to the doctor and they fixed him as best as they couldn't fix everything because he was scared. That's something that nobody can fix. He was scared to get back up on the wall. He was scared to do the things that he loved because he was afraid he was going to get hurt again. So, the very powerful message in this book is that even if you're scared, you should try to push past those fears because there's great things on the other side. Once he made it back up to that wall, he was as happy as he ever had been. And he actually learned how to fly, and he became a bird. He became free of that fear. Many times birds are representations of being free because they can fly anywhere they want to. He became free of that fear. So your writing prompt for today is to tell me something that you learned from Humpty Dumpty. What can you learn from this book? My pink Post-it note just fell off the wall. We'll have to stick that back up. But tell me something you can learn. And if you're not sure, think back to why this book won that award. Because it taught us something important. If you're still unsure, then write that to me. Say, I don't know. I don't know what the lesson was. And that's okay. We can talk about it in our one-to-one Zoom meetings, right? We can talk about why this book was such an important book. But that is our story time for Mrs. Arnold today. Your prompt is to write me what you learned from this book. Okay? I will see you all later. Bye.